Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. We may now be seated. Good morning. We are gathered here for the Philippine Mayors Forum, Innovation, Digital Governance, and Resiliency Building towards Accelerated Implementation of the 2030 Agenda in the Philippines. To formally begin our program, may we call on Interior and Local Government Secretary Benjamin Abalos Jr. to deliver his welcome remarks.
Good morning to everyone. To His Excellency President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., of course to Ana Turland, to Gustavo Gonzalez, to Sap Anton Laglabeo, Secretary Tony Loizaga, to the UN dignitaries, cabinet secretaries, mayors and vice mayors, speakers, guests, our partner agencies, of course, civil society, NGOs, academe, and other partners. A pleasant good morning to everyone. Welcome to the Mayors Forum on Innovation, Digital Governance, Resiliency, Building towards Accelerated Implementation of the 2030 Agenda in the Philippines. I am honored to welcome you all, organized by the DALG with the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs and in collaboration with the United Nations Resident Coordinator's Office and United Nations Development Program, Philippines. This month of October, we celebrate two important milestones that defined and continuously influence governance across countries globally, as well as national and local government dynamics in the Philippines. Globally, we are celebrating the United Nations Month with the theme, SDGs, a race we can win, in commendation of the UN members agencies' commitment in promoting and advancing the ideals of global peace, justice, human rights, and the rule of law. The SDGs are at the core of the President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s 8-point socio-economic agenda, which calls for transformation in all sectors, social, economic, institutional, and environmental, to reinvigorate employment and reduce poverty in order to achieve a prosperous, inclusive, and resilient society. The commitment is reflected in the Philippine Development Plan for 2023 to 2028, the country's second medium-term plan anchored on the government's long-term vision of Ambition Natin 2040. The PDP sets in motion the government's economic recovery program to return the country into a high-growth trajectory towards an upper-middle-income nation by 2025. Likewise, this month, In October, it is the 32nd anniversary of the passage of the Local Government Code of 1991, which steered a paradigm shift towards local autonomy and decentralization in the Philippines, and defined the powers, political and fiscal authority to LGUs with the intention of instituting more accountable and responsive local government structure. This forum is the culmination of the DILG's month-long celebration with the theme, Festival of Local Excellence, Competitiveness, showcasing innovation, digital transformation, and the new technologies in improving local governance towards accelerated implementation of the 2030 Agenda in the Philippines. Recognizing the pivotal role of the LGUs in achieving the SDGs, being in the front line, you are well-positioned to drive change and implement effective strategies in achieving SDGs and contribute to that high-growth path. The Supreme Court ruling in the Mandanas-Garcia petition providing greater resources to LGUs presents better opportunities for local governments to plan, finance, and implement more comprehensive and effective climate-sensitive SDUs. For our part, the department takes the lead in localizing the SDGs. We remain steadfast in shepherding our local leaders, strengthening capacities for our local governments, and introducing smart, sustainable solutions for better quality service. In the new DILG strategic plan, we will continue to steer and support local actions to tackle global challenges, catalyze good local governance, and work with LGUs in addressing pressing development issues such as poverty and inequality, health, nutrition, gender inequality, and inclusion, resilience to climate change, peace, and development. My dear friends, though much has been done, there is still much work that lies ahead. May the exemplary practices showcased in this forum continue to inspire us in bringing change and continue reforms in local governments to spur innovations for positive change in the way we do things given the challenges and realities in our own communities. We aspire our mayors and local leaders to better understand the strategies and approaches to advance the progress, to be shared by international and local experts will share recent innovation, digital solutions, and scientific development. My dear friends, a while ago, I was telling Ana and Gustavo and our president that this is actually the first United Nations DILG Mayors Forum, the first. And the UN has so much projects here. And this is a good forum where we could see all of these projects, benchmark everything, look at the gaps, strengthen everything, and make sure that each and every LGU's needs are really addressed. And I was telling them, I hope next year we will have this. Gustavo told me this should be twice a year. No? But the gathering of local leaders today is a testament of our commitment to unite and harmonize our efforts for sustainable development and rally behind our President's governance of a brand of Bagong Pilipinas. Sa inyo pong lahat, maraming salamat sa pagdalo. Mabuhay po kayo lahat.
Thank you, Secretary Abalos. To deliver the message of Mr. Zhuang Zhu, may we call on the Governance and Public Administration expert of United Nations Project Office on Governance, Ms. Anna Thorland.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr., Honorable Benjamin Avalos, Junior Secretary of the Interior and Local Government, Mr. Gustavo Gonzalez, United Nations Resident Coordinator and Humanitarian Coordinator, Mr. Selva Arraun-Chamadran, Resident Representative of UNDP, the Philippines, distinguished mayors, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to speak to you at this important gathering of mayors and public servants from across the country. I would like to commend the Department of Interior and Local Government for organizing this forum and the United Nations in the Philippines, particularly the Resident Coordinator Office and UNDP for partnering with UNDESA. This Mayors Forum is a clear signal that the Philippines recognize that the road to sustainable development runs through the cities and towns of this country, many islands. We have come together to discuss how we can follow up on the commitments made by the world leaders, including His Excellency President Marcos, at the SDG Summit hosted last month at the UN General Assembly in New York. The summit recognized that the world has fallen behind in most areas of the 2030 agenda. Time is now of the essence. If we are to end hunger and poverty and achieve the many other enlightened goals of the 2030 agenda. The world has endured many interlocking crises since the 17 Sustainable Development Goals were adopted in 2015. The result is that we have lost some of the development gains previously made. The formula for success includes the ingredients that we will delve on during this forum: good governance, innovation, and digital transformation, enhanced partnership between local authorities and the United Nations in the Philippines, sustainable urban development, and smart cities. These are vital to build resilience in the face of mounting challenges. The Philippines has suffered more setbacks than most given its perennial exposure to extreme weather events and seismic shocks, alongside the economic shocks and loss of life inflicted by COVID-19 pandemic. The Philippines was among the first countries to commit to the 2030 Agenda and the SDGs. It is also one of the UN member states that has produced 3 voluntary national reviews. The last review was presented at the High-Level Political Forum for Sustainable Development in 2022 and showed that the country is turning into its national ambition 2040 into reality, with a particular focus on efforts to strengthen institutions to recover from the pandemic and making progress on the SDG implementation. This Mayors Forum is a logical follow-up of the good work already done by the National Economic and Development Authority, which has hosted workshops bringing the relevant stakeholders together to agree on the framework for localizing the SDGs as part of the national implementation strategy. Today, it's an opportunity to build further on those foundations. The presentations and discussion during this forum will give you new ideas and insights into the benefits and multi-level governance for implementing of the SDGs at the local level. The UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs and the UN office here in the Philippines are both committed to supporting the integration of the SDGs into national and local plans and the promotion of innovative processes to strengthen effective governance at the subnational level. The speakers you will hear today across 4 sessions will share the insights in many policy areas and good practices that can benefit your work and your daily work. Along with the takeaways from these sessions, I encourage you to network with your peers and to make full use of the Q&A opportunities. Allow me to conclude with a quote from our Secretary General during the recent summit in New York. The SDGs will not be rescued in New York. They will be rescued in your communities. So please continue to listen to your people in your communities and incorporate their needs and concerns into your policies and investments. Once again, I wish to thank Secretary Avalos Jr. and my colleagues from the UN in the Philippines for organizing this forum. And I thank you for your attention and thank you for your individual commitment to making the SDGs a reality in your cities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thorland. At this point, may we call on the United Nations Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator, Mr. Gustavo Gonzalez, to deliver his message.
His Excellency President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., Special Assistant to the President Antonio Ernesto Lagdameo, Secretary of the Department of Science and Technology Renato Solidium, Secretary Maria Antonia Yuro Loizaga, and of course Secretary Benjamin Avalos, Secretary of Interior and Local Government. Magandang umaga sa inyo lahat. Good morning. And I still remember when we were planning this gathering, and I must confess that at the beginning we were thinking about 10, 20, maximum 60 mayors engaged in this exercise. And then we start renegotiating the numbers, and today we have what is the first ever gathering between majors. We call it the doers of development and the United Nations. And I would like to commend the leadership of the Department of Interior and Local Governance, definitely, to bringing the realities of the development to the eyes of the United Nations. As I always say, the United Nations, we know, is not a bilateral partner, it's a multilateral partner, and you are part of the United Nations. So in some way, we are part of your teams. We are part of your team. So my first message is make the most of the United Nations, because we are here to support your work. The former UN Secretary General, when he was asked, Secretary Ban Ki-moon, when he was asked describing the role of majors and the role of local governance, he said that our struggle for global sustainability will be won or lost in cities. And we fully subscribe these remarks, as most of the Sustainable Development Goals, they have direct relevance to cities, to municipalities. And in fact, around 2/3 of all targets of the SDGs are expected to be met in cities or by cities. So local governments are closer to the level where actions are more likely to produce tangible results, and in a more responsive and inclusive process. You are the first responders in challenging situations, and I remember my first experience here that was with Super Typhoon Odette, and the best lessons learned that we got in terms of the response, they came from you. They came from you. You know, sometimes at the UN we have quite robust handbooks and guidance, but at the end of the day, success is when we tailor-made our responses. So you are there as first responders, and you are there also as engines when we need to transform the reality and the life of our people. So in the Philippines, local governments have a critical role to play, and you call it whole-of-nation approach. And this is a lesson learned for the UN, and we hope that we will take advantage of this quite beautiful and powerful concept of inclusiveness. However, we have to recognize that these are not tasks that local government units and cities can or should do on their own. The localization of the SDGs requires the involvement of all levels of governance. And this is what the first thing that I heard from the President just a few minutes ago. This is a multi-level dialogue. Fostering such multi-level governance approach is precisely the main objective of today's gathering, where we will share local and global expertise on 3 interrelated areas of work. Innovation was already mentioned, digital governance, and resilience. As UN, we are very proud of taking part in today's dialogue with the key engines of the development agenda, majors, and we would like to commend the leadership of the Department of Interior and Local Governance for creating this very strategic space for knowledge sharing and partnership. And as was already mentioned by Secretary Avalos, we hope that this is the beginning of a series of similar dialogues for action. The UN Secretary General just a few days ago set up the first advisory board on local governance. And it's a body that is composed of 10, 15 experts. The Philippines is the only country that is appointing 2 experts to this advisory board. So this is a demonstration that you are already championing on local governance. And of course, I suggest that you make the most of these 2 representatives. Both of them, they have a strong experience, of course, in local governance, but they will be there advising the Secretary General on how to bring local governance for the upcoming summit for the future that will take place next year in New York. In closing, please allow me to reaffirm the UN's commitment, and I have colleagues here from the UN country team present, the UN's commitment to support local governance and decentralization, which is now clearly reflected in the new United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Frameworks from 2024-2028, which was just signed a few days ago between the UN and the government in the presence of the President of the Republic of the Philippines. So I believe that we have jointly set the basis for a very promising partnership between this powerful and committed network of local leaders and the UN to localize the SDGs agenda and make a reality this noble aspiration of this administration, which is to become the Philippines an upper middle income country very shortly. And the UN is with you. Maraming salamat po. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzales. At this juncture, may we call once again Secretary Avalos to introduce our guest of honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos, Jr.
Thank you to our DILG Secretary, Secretary Benher Abalos, for your kind introduction. Please take your seats. The United Nations Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator, Mr. Gustavo Gonzales, who has become he was teasing me earlier, and he said who has become a fixture in the palace because of the many things that we are doing together with the UN, and he was teasing me. I am already practically a cabinet secretary to the Philippines. And that would be, and I told him if we could do that, we would. The United Nations Governance and Public Administration expert, Ms. Anna Thorlund. Our host for today's activities, Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte, and the other honorable local chief executives present, lahat ng ating mga butihing, mga punong bayan na nandito ngayon, fellow workers in government, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm happy to join you today for this year's Philippine Mayors Forum, which coincides with the 32nd anniversary of the enactment of the Local Government Code. I think it is very significant the fact that we are celebrating also the local government code, which gave autonomy to local government. And that autonomy is now being used by these programs. Kung wala po tayong 71, wala po tayong local government code, that autonomy that we gave to our local chief executives would not be available to you. But now that it is, and now that the coinciding program that we are availing of with the United Nations is making that autonomy even greater and even stronger. And it also demonstrates that if you see the greetings and the different agencies, the different parts of government, private sector, United Nations, all of these have come together. And when we talk about the whole of society and the whole of nation approach, this is a perfect example of that. Lahat ng kailangan nating tulong ay lahat ng kailangan natin tulong ay ilalagay natin para harapin itong problemang ito. And this, I believe, is very, very important, especially in this day and age. This will strengthen, once again, the autonomy of our local governments, and it will give us a direction when we are now, which the Governor Dax is here, that we are now putting together the final implementation of the Mandanas-Garcia ruling. That is, of course, relevant to all the local government executives. And that, to include that now into that plan, into what we are going to do, is to have a very potent weapon in facing the challenges of climate change, of digitalization, of sustainability, of mitigation, of all our efforts to make the local government a important part of all what we do at the national and, in this case, international level. I think it was an inspired inspired revelation, if I can call it that, to recognize, for the UN to recognize that it will need local government assistance. We cannot do any of these. We are talking about global issues here, but nonetheless, we depend on the local government. Maganda yung maraming magandang salita sa national, huhusay na speech, maraming mga display. Pero ang bagsak niyan, ang punot dulo niyan, ay kayo, ang ating mga chief executive, local chief executive. Dahil kung wala kayong kakayahan na gawin lahat ito, you know that what will happen, we will not reach down to the ground level. And that's what we count on local government to do. So for more than 3 decades, this landmark law has provided us with a trusted set of guidelines, and I'm talking about the local government code, on how to go about the process of devolution, with an emphasis on making our local government units more efficient, more empowered, and more self-sustaining. However, we are now in the 21st century. There are new challenges in both the local and national levels, issues that were not conceived of by the code's framers 30 years ago, that require us now to discover, to explore, to employ better ways of capacitating our localities. So I welcome this forum, which seeks to harness the power of innovation, digital governance, resiliency building, to ensure that the government can better respond to the demands of the times. And when I speak of government, I speak of government at every level. At this point, let me recognize the DILG and the UN Department of Economics and Social Affairs, the UN Resident Coordinator Office in the Philippines, the UN Development Program Philippines for organizing this forum. It is a most opportune time for our national government agencies and LGUs to come together with the support of international partners to augment our strategies and approaches towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. This gathering also reaffirms this administration's commitment to making our government more transparent, more responsive, and accessible to our public. It is my hope that these discussions will result in the wider adoption of multi-level governance, the rise of smarter, more sustainable communities, the emergence of stronger, more resilient local institutions. So let me challenge our mayors to not only make the most out of this forum, let us make good use of this forum. It is going to be a very effective multiplier in terms of the efforts that we bring. And the support that the United Nations brings now to this effort is going to be will accelerate that, and will accelerate the capacity building of our local governments. Sa palagay ko, dapat ganyan ang tingin natin. How do we make full use of this UN program? And the way to make full use of this UN program, in my view, is that we take full advantage of the knowledge, of the training, of the experience that the UN has gained, not only in the Philippines, but all around the world, and apply it to our own constituencies. And we capacitate ourselves, make ourselves more competent, make ourselves more knowledgeable, make ourselves more learned when it comes to all of the problems that we are now facing. And that way, we are able to achieve more. So we must also explore international partnerships such as that with your counterparts, not only in the Philippines, but in other countries. And that way, we will learn the best practices in improving public service delivery. I assure you, the mayors that this administration will remain your leading partner in enhancing your capacities to achieve our sustainable development goals sa ambisyon natin 2014. May I just inform the body that both our mayors and the subject of local governments are close to my heart, as I was not only a governor, I was a congressman, which although tawag sa amin ay national officer, ang constituency ng congressman is local. So I was that for many years. And furthermore, because of that experience, I was the chairman of the Senate Committee on Local Government. And so this is very close to my heart, and that is why I understand the importance of what we are doing here today. I understand how this will help our mayors, all our local communities, how we will bring we will breathe new life into this effort of sustainability, this effort of autonomy, this effort of capacitating our own organizations, our own provinces, our own cities, our own municipalities, to be able to face these are new challenges. Like I said earlier, though framers of the local government code did not 31 years ago, they did not have to think of all of these problems simply because they did not exist. But they do now, and that is our job. Our job is to face those problems, find the solutions to make a better life for our people. So together, let us continue working hard to serve our nation, to give a better life to every Filipino, to prepare a better country for the next generations. Thank you, and I wish you all success in these endeavors. Sama-sama po tayong umusad tungo sa isang bagong Pilipinas. Mabuhay kayong lahat. Magandang umaga po sa inyo.
Thank you, Mr. President. May we request the President to kindly grant us a group photo with all of our guests. request everyone to please get up and join the photo. You may come closer in an orderly manner. Thank you. Ready? Please smile at the camera. Thank you so much, Mr. President, for granting us a photo opportunity. And that concludes our program. Thank you, Mr. President, for gracing the Philippine Mayors Forum. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.